Hello, welcome to the Women in Data Science series of The Shelly Show. This is a milestone episode. This is our 10th episode. So thank you all for your love and affection. I'm Shailendra and you're watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you and your family are safe, getting away from the COVID-19 situation and staying indoors. Every fortnight, we bring the leading ladies of data science to this platform and try to understand their point of view in the data science world. So if you know a leading lady of data science and want to hear their point of view by featuring them in the roundtable here, then please mention their name in the comment section. Also, please let us know whether you're watching this live or you're watching it on a replay. If you're watching it live, type live in the comment section. If you're watching a replay, mention replay in the comment section. If you've got any question for the girls today, please mention your questions in the comment section, and we will take them in the audience Q&A section in the end. So please wait for your question to be addressed. I will take each and every question that you mention in the audience section. So let me not waste any time now and quickly bring the guest to you. My first guest is Neha Jain. Neha is an analytics enthusiast working as Associate Director with Eli Lilly Global Capability Center. She's focused on developing platforms that can help leverage best practices globally. An experienced leader in setting up global offshore centers, she has spent significant time in helping companies define and execute their commercial analytics strategy. So let us bring in Neha. Hi Neha, welcome to the Shelly Show.
Hi. Good morning, Shailendra. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. So I'm in Sydney. Which part of the world are you in today?
I'm in Bangalore, India.
Good. So one thing is for sure, the network will be good with you because Bangalore has some good steady network. Good stuff. Okay, let me bring the other guests as well. My second guest is Usha Rengaraju. Usha is a polymath. We should ask her this. And India's first woman Kaggle Grandmaster. So we've got a Grandmaster here. She leads several communities like Women in Machine Learning, Women in Data Science, Bangalore and Mysore chapter, and TensorFlow user group as well in Mysore. She organized Neuro AI, which is India's first ever research symposium in the interface of neuroscience and data science. She has spoken at various conferences like ODSC, PyCon India, India Data Week, and GHCI. She specializes in probabilistic graphical models, machine learning, and deep learning. She's prepared curriculum for BITS Pilani's Masters in Data Science program, which is consumed by over 20,000 people, 20,000 students, and UpGrad's PGP program in data science, which is consumed by over 10,000 people. So she's got a huge impact of more than 30,000 students. So let me bring in Usha. Hi Usha, welcome to the Shelly Show.
Yeah, hi Shailendra, glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you. And we've got a little glitch today. Her camera is not working, so we will have to just hear her voice. Is it?
Yeah, only my voice will be heard. Yeah, my camera will not work. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff, Usha. So for you to watch this episode and other sessions that I'm running on Emerging Technologies Live, I would request you to follow me so you can be alerted when a live session is on. So if you're watching me on LinkedIn, press the follow button. If you're watching me on Twitter, press the follow button. If you're watching me on YouTube, press the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. And if you're watching me on what is left? YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. If you're watching me on Facebook, then press the like button so that more and more people can learn from these three beautiful ladies of data science. And I haven't forgotten, finally, Susan Walsh, all the way from UK, with nearly a decade of experience fixing dirty data. Now, she's doing something very different to others, right? So we've got a mathematician, we've got a data scientist. Now let's look at what Susan brings to table. She's been fixing dirty data. She is also called the classification guru. We'll have to ask her what that means. She brings clarity and accuracy to data and procurement, helps teams work more effectively and efficiently, and cuts through the jargons to address the issues of dirty data and its consequences in an entertaining and an engaging way. So we are up for some entertainment as well, or we call it infotainment, in other words. Susan is a specialist in the data classification, supply normalization, taxonomy, customization, and data cleansing, and can help your business find cost savings through spend and time management, supporting better, more informed business decisions. Susan has developed a methodology to accurately and efficiently classify, cleanse, and check data for errors. Susan is passionate about helping you find the value in cleaning your dirty data. So let's not waste any time and bring in Susan Walsh. Drum rolls. Hi, Susan, how are you?
Morning. Yeah, good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff. It is early morning there for Susan. I think, what's the time there in the UK?
6 a.m. now, so the birds are just starting to tweet.
Good stuff. So Twitter is on. Good stuff. Guys, anyone who wants to have any question, ask any questions to these three beautiful ladies, please put that in the comment section and I'll definitely pick that up in the audience Q&A section. Okay, guys, very, very quickly, before I get to the questions, Susan, you need to explain what is a classification guru. What does that title mean?
Well, there's only one of me, that's for sure. And I decided to self-declare that I was the classification guru because nobody can classify data like me. I have this unusual ability to do it very quickly and efficiently, manually, without any AI coding, machine learning. So I thought nobody else is going to tell me how great I am. I have to just do it myself. So, and also, it's a bit of fun. I think there's a lot, data can be quite serious and that intimidates a lot of people who we need to engage in using data. So I thought doing something a bit more lighthearted, get more people involved. So that's my aim.
Good stuff. Okay, very, very quickly, let's get to the processes aspect of data science. And I will start with you, Susan, just because getting clean data is the essence for everything. So we need to understand the processes that are used in creating clean data. So what kind of processes do you use? And I think it'll be an eye-opener for a lot of people who actually do understand the end-to-end data science process. But let's focus on the data cleansing processes to start with.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, it is a skill in its own right, and quite often it's tagged onto someone else's job. And so it's not often done by people who have the time or who are interested or necessarily have the skills. And it is the most important part of the process, because if you don't get it right at the start, it's going to cause a world of pain, time, money down the line. If you've got other, in an organization, if you've got other stakeholders involved, it causes issues. If you're implementing new software and then it's not working because the data was wrong, then you don't get that engagement with staff. So it's so important. And I believe that the only way that you get clean data at the start is when you look at a set for the first time, you have to do it manually. So you have to get your hands dirty, you have to get in there and go through it by eye, so that you know that if you can automate part of that process, it's learning or scanning or pulling from the correct data. And there are a number of different ways you can do that. Obviously, we can all do it in Excel, but it's very slow. It crashes a lot, especially if you've got large data. I use a tool called Omniscope, which is a data modeling and visualization tool, and that's where I've learned my methodology over the years.
Mhm.
But there is no shortcut or cheats when it comes to getting your data quality right. You have to invest that time at the start to get it
So
right.
let me ask you this question. Is there any formalized process that you follow now that you've been doing that for the last few years? Is there any end-to-end process to clean data that you've created so far? Is it manual, or is it, now that you've put a lot of processes into, streamlined process, what is it all about?
So I work a lot with financial spend data. So every single data set is different. And actually, even within organizations, I think different departments and things have used data in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my train of thought there. So I take the data and I classify it manually, but for the first time, I normally can't use another data set to pull through that information, mainly because different companies use different taxonomies. I think I do a lot of build customized taxonomies for my clients because things like the UNSPSC are a bit dated now. They don't cover a lot of like modern things like a lot of online marketing and online services. So each one is different. But what that means is once I've done that once, if they want to refresh that data, I can either do that within my modeling software. So it's a semi-automated process and I match on supplier name and invoice description. And then that might cover, say, 80% of the new data. And then there's a 20% manual piece involved. But as you do that more and more, that amount should get smaller because in theory, they shouldn't be adding new suppliers that often.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I do it. And that can even be done in Excel. So I'll give my clients the classified file and they can even then do VLOOKUPs and things like that on their data if they want to manage their refreshes going forward. So you can do it without really expensive software that you have to take time to train people in, or even, learning to code or anything like that. You can kind of make it as simple as possible if you want to get more people involved in it. And I think the more people involved in the organization's data, the better, because the more people that look at it will be able to tell when it looks right, when it looks wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Let's move on to Usha. Usha, a question for you. When you're looking at data which is not clean, I won't say dirty data, which is not clean, are there any machine learning or statistical processes that you use to actually run some kind of an automation to make sure that the processes are that the data gets cleaned? And if you do that, then how do you deal with missing data? How do you deal with imputations? How do you work around that?
All right. Most of the time, so for a consultant, we work with the domain experts directly. So, for example, if you take, I recently worked for a semiconductor manufacturing plant. So, for consultant, it works differently. So, we go to on-site, we sit with the clients, and then our first process starts by training the client. I mean, the clients don't even have, people in the semiconductor industry don't even have any basic knowledge of data science, but they're highly qualified. Like most of them are PhD scientists in their area of domain expertise.
Yep.
But they're very much new to AI. So some of them are very skeptical because if you see, they have worked in semiconductor industry for like 18 years to 20 years. So they have, manually did several processes, and which they kind of begin to believe that, that's the only way they can do a lot of things. So first off, the first process for us starts with even training the client about what AI is and what all is possible. So the process starts with that, and then we slowly move on to some for a consultant for a semiconductor industry, like, they just want to implement AI in most of their processes and automate it, but they don't actually have a clear requirement in the first place. They don't know what to automate, but they just want, like, manually automate. So they have a very vague idea. So the problem description is not even clear in the first place. So the data itself is not available there. So it starts with training the client, and then the second process would be interaction with the client. So they would start describing their mundane processes, like what are the processes which they it takes a lot of time, where the domain experts are very limited, and because of it there's so much of delay and all that. And then we identify, and 5 to 7 processes where AI can be. After the long discussions, we identify 7 to 8 areas where we can apply AI and mathematics. So you sit during this process, you sit with a domain expert. So it's only, and the data collection for a very specific domain, industries like semiconductor or genomics and all that. There's not much of there's not much of unclean data or untidy data. And even if it's there, you sit with a domain expert, right? So the data cleaning process is not that difficult. So for semiconductor industry, they have such a clean processes that the data is, you don't find that much of a missing data. And even if there is a missing data, since you're with a domain expert, the domain experts tells you exactly, like, if this is the case, he sees the other features and he says what could be the answers there. So for consulting, it works very differently, because you don't go out and you don't get the open source data sets which has to be cleaned and all that. So the consulting firm, and when you work, I've also worked with genomics. So again, when you work with a genomic data scientist, we don't the problem of missing data is very uncommon. You don't get that kind of an experience there. It's more about understanding the problem. It's more about framing the problem in the first place. So they
Yep.
have huge amounts of data. What to do with the data is the problem there. So the missing data and all those things, is not much of a problem. And you take a scenario like Kaggle, you already get clean data. So the problem sets, most of the problem sets in Kaggle are already clean and clear. There it's more about applying, coming up with great feature engineering techniques and modeling techniques to find the best, for a given metric, get the best score. So these are the areas where I've worked on. So I've not worked on many of the projects where there's a requirement of cleaning the data. And there are other kinds of clients who already have a data science team. So they already have an in-house data science team, and they're already having a team of 6 to 8 data scientists, but they have problems with productionizing the ML models. So they don't have an expert who has that 6 to 7 years of experience in building productionized models. So they don't just want consulting in the final part, just 2 to 3 weeks of them helping them to push their models into production.
Okay.
So I haven't had that kind of an experience in dealing with unclean data. And in all those scenarios where I dealt with, I had domain experts with me.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it's, yep. Okay. Neha, what do you see in your stream of work? Do you spend a lot of time in cleaning up the data, or do you spend a lot of time in building analysis or insights or models, as we would say?
So Shalin, how it happens to be is that I work mostly for non-US geographies, and the bane or the boon with US is that there is so much data available that you just have to think about how to use it. While as you go east from US, the availability of data and the cleanliness of data drops by every kilometer, I would say, every mile. So yes, I work a lot on data cleanup and data usage as well. And as Suzanne rightly said, that I completely agree with her that until and unless your data is right, whatever you do on top of it, no one will value it. Your data has to be right to be able to generate any meaningful insight out of it. And so yes, I mean, for organizations, how I look at analytics is that analytics is a journey. It starts from data governance, it starts from data quality. When you get that piece right, that is when we can talk about more of higher end analytics and advanced analytics, how you can really use this data well. In the non-US world, because data availability is rather limited, we rely a lot on publicly available information. We rely a lot on fuzzy logics to put data pieces together to make some kind of a golden record, which we can use for our analytics later on. So equal amount of time should be spent on data governance, and equal amount of thinking should go into how you will end up using this data. And there is no shying away from the fact that until and unless you get your hands dirty, you sit with people who are out there in the field and who know data from a very practical experience, and validating whatever your mapping logics are spelling out, whether it is true or correct representation of the world out there or not, is the only way to go about it. That is how you train your models, that is how you learn.
Okay, perfect. Before I get to my next question, I would say that at the moment there are more than 35, 40 people watching us. So guys, please press the like button. And I have a gift for each one of you who presses the like button today. Let's see how many likes can I buy. So please press the like button. Last to last episode, we had more than 100 likes. So can we beat that 100 likes today? Let's see. So
Come on,
if you
guys.
please press the like button and let's see if we can hit that and beat that mark of 108 likes 2 episodes ago. And there is a gift which I'm going to give away. In fact, very soon. So if you've got to like this, if you want that gift, then please press that like button. Okay. To the next question for you, Neha. You rightly said, and actually, what Usha said was absolutely right. That you need to define the objective, what you're trying to achieve in the first place, and that's lots of organizations are struggling with doing that. But if you look at it from end-to-end process, have you seen that the data science end-to-end process in your organization or the organizations where you've seen that happening, is that streamlined? Is that defined, that people are able to define the question first very quickly and then get onto the modeling aspect of it, and then get an output and insight and then execute on the basis of that? Have you seen that streamlining of the process? Before you answer that question, guys, please press the like button if you haven't, because there is a gift on your way today. Neha?
Yep, Sharon. So I have a mixed answer. Sometimes yes, mostly no. See, again, the way I see data science, the way I see usage of data in organizations is that we've just started scratching the tip of the iceberg. More often than not, I find myself in situations where, yes, we start with a defined problem, but the scope of the defined problem is rather narrow or small. And the moment you answer one question and you get the interest of a business leader in that answer, there are 10 questions coming, and that is when the scope starts widening. That is when the leader also starts really appreciating the insights that you're bringing to the table. So, and that's why I said that it's a mixed response. Many a times you start with a very well defined focused question, but it all depends how well you are able to answer that question and generate more questions out of it, which really brings out the customer behavior, the market dynamics, which help you understand what is really going on and how you should be adapting yourself, adapting your business. Very simple example I would give is that now we are adding a new generation to the market every 3 years, with very different drivers, with very different behaviors, with very different levers to pull that can motivate them or change their buying behavior. If you think that what marketing strategy you used 5 years before is applicable even today, it is illusion that you're living in. So and that is why every time you run a model, there is a different answer that comes out of it. Every time you have to tweak it, every time you have to take inputs from the business, from the brand leaders, from the regional leaders, from the behavioral experts, and keep on fine-tuning your model. So yes, sometimes there is a problem which is well defined. Most of the times it is not. It depends on what you find.
Okay. Usha, what is your point of view on this?
Yeah. Since I work with varied industries and varied domains, so I'll give you some very raw feedback on whatever is happening outside. So, if you take startups, there are a lot of startups, they want to project themselves as AI startups. Because there are a lot of investors who are interested in investing in AI based startups. So there are a lot of startups who try to bring, just AI functionality into all the processes which they see. See, some of the startup which I have seen, like a voice functionality, something like an Alexa functionality is may not necessarily be required for that use case, but they try to bring it because they can just integrate an API and they can bring, they can just provide those AI features which might be looking attractive to client. A particular use case may not necessarily require all those advanced features, but which but they just integrate it because it's just a call of an API which you can integrate it. So the API integration, you take Microsoft, or you take GCP, or you take even Amazon, AWS. So you can get a lot of things done with just the API integration. So when they build a product, they try to bring these AI based features along with it, which might look very attractive to a client. So they introduce a lot of AI features, for different reasons. This is not what all startups are doing, but I'm just trying to point out the different things which different people are doing. So there are some kind of people who do this as well. And as I've seen some consulting firms which is especially in telecommunication industry. So in telecommunication industry is like what when I interacted with them, what their intention was, they just want to increase the revenue, and they want to include as much AI in their processes, which will bring them more of a revenue increase. So they don't have a clear problem there. So so it's just more of interacting with different teams and finding out where all AI can be applied into their processes, and to bring an increase in revenue. And so some of the problems which we faced there was, see, if it's a huge telecommunication giant, there are different teams, multiple teams where you need to collect data. So the communication going back and forth between different teams in a huge organization can get extremely cross complex. And you might be expecting a data from a subset of a team inside that huge giant company, but there could be internal collisions and stuff. Because of a lot of reasons, you may not get the data on time. So following, we see a flow chart of data collection, data cleaning, data modeling, and the communication of results, that kind of a flow chart. But there's so many things which are not shown in the flow chart. So the data communication comes earlier. I mean, data communication is very, very crucial part in all the processes, communicating between different subsets of the teams and getting the right data. And a lot of processes gets delayed. So you may not want to wait till that process gets complete. You might you may start off experimenting with different prototypes until you get the data from that subset of a team. So this was what which happens with huge huge giant companies in specific domains. And there are some of the startups whom I have seen would want, if you take a particular startup which is working on a particular technology, there are like 4 to 6 competitors who are solving the same problem in a different geographies. For example, a startup, I don't want to take names, but a startup is trying to solve a specific problem in data science integration. And you have a couple of startups in India with the same team, but there are different geographies. In US, you have a couple of startups who are solving the same problem. So there are 5 to 6 competitors who are solving the same problem. So these competitors keep a tab of what each others are doing. So if a competitor is releasing a new feature, they want to keep updated with the market. They start, building up a similar kind of a feature. So there's that kind of a competition as well. So you may not actually need that AI feature in the first place, but then to keep up with the competitors, you start introducing new AI features. This is how if you ask me if there is any specific process, or if there's a very clarity on what you're doing and stuff, it's very randomized in the industry in reality. There is no proper procedural process, or there's no proper clear distinction of what to do and stuff. So it just happens with the flow, and
Mhm.
different people do different things for different reasons.
Yep, and I think one more thing which I've seen in India is, and this is not true for all the organizations, but lots of startups, new startups, actually call themselves AI startups, though they don't do any AI. They just happen to do some data wrangling or data cleansing or possibly build a statistical model here and there, and they call themselves AI startups. In fact, I met this gentleman at one of the events, and I asked him, "So, what do you do?" He said, I have a company which is an AI company." I said, "What do you do?" He said, "We do this." And he told me something. I said, "Well, so you effectively build a statistical model," and he was just doing a regression model, and he was calling himself a statistical startup, and he told me that he creates AI algorithms. And I said, "I've been in the industry for a long time and I haven't heard this term. And you've started creating that." So I think that's also going in people's mind where lots of people like to hear the term AI. So they're just dropping that term there and saying, "Well, oh, we do AI," but actually they're not doing AI. They're not even doing the fundamentals of AI, because it's hard for lots of individuals to define what is AI in the first place, than to even write any models or do any AI projects in end to end. What do you think? Yep. What do you think, Usha, on that?
I think, as I mentioned a little earlier as well, this whole process of, I think it's little related to psychology as well. So one of the things why data science, I mean, this might be a little off bit to the, a little, different from the question which you have asked, but I'll cover your question as well. And so when one of the reasons why I strongly believe like data science became a hit, it could be one of the reasons based on my psychological intuitions. So because of the word scientist attached to the data, a lot of people, like the way, like being called data scientist without doing PhD. They like that. So there are a lot of people. I'm also a corporate trainer. So a lot of people whom I ask my students, see, why do you want to become a data scientist? So like most of them, around 80% of them, they like being called scientists. So that's also one of the reasons why data science became a huge hit. Psychologically, people want to get into it. And the other
I
factor
think,
is,
I think let's hold that, because we will talk about this in the skills section. And I've got a point of view on that as well. Let's go to Susan on this. So, Susan, when you talk to your organization, is there any example that you would want to share where organizations have an end-to-end process, or they do not have an end-to-end process? They're just doing hit and trial and trying to just get an outcome. What do you see in your part of the world?
So for me, I am the band-aid for the procurement department. So I find that I see it from a different angle. So procurement are looking for a very different kind of information than, say, finance, than maybe sales and marketing. And they may need to do a whole organizational transformation, but in order to make cost savings and do all that kind of good stuff, they need that information now. So they get me in to plug that gap until they can sort it out internally. So I would say that in most cases there's a big disjoint. And actually, it was interesting talking about AI, because I have been the AI behind the scenes. So especially, and within my industry, there's a lot of talk of AI and a lot of neural networks, algorithms, all these nice good words that are used, but actually it's not really being used. It's people like myself, and there's loads of companies in India that offer this service. So you just need to do a Google search to find how many companies are out there, and you know that it's not the AI that's doing it. So it's smoke and mirrors, I would say.
Yeah, so I think that's there in the industry as well, and that brings me to the next question, and that is around the skills. But before I go there, I'll just announce it once again that I am going to give away a gift at the end of the show. So, guys, please stick around, ask questions, and also press the like button if you haven't, because we have to hit more than 100 likes today again. So, if we do that, then a gift is on your way. So, if you haven't pressed the like button so far, please press the like button now. And so, coming to the skills aspect, and we did mention about that, and Usha, you were talking about the skills, how people want to become data scientists. And I'll tell you a funny story that I asked people, and this is a fundamental question I asked, to become a data scientist in my world. But even before that, data science is a term which is very convoluted. Everyone thinks anyone who's doing a little bit of data wrangling calls themselves a data scientist as well. So I asked people, I come from India, and I did my studies from India. So in year 10, we used to have a statistical chapter, a chapter on statistics in your NCRT year 10 CBSE board exam. We used to have a statistics chapter. And because that was an optional question, and we had seen that in the past, most of the people would leave that question, will not even prepare for that, because they thought that it is an optional question, I'll pick the other one. So I don't want to spend more time on that chapter. Same people now want to become data scientists, and the fundamental of becoming a data scientist is statistics. So the people who actually left that question as an option are now wanting to become a data scientist. So that thing that doesn't get to me. And then so every time when someone asks me, I want to become a data scientist, what do I do? So go back and read that chapter in that book in your year 10. And that is very, very important. That's what I see in the market. What do you see there, Usha?
Yeah, people are, there's one, especially in the Indian context, I'll take it in the Indian context because different geographies have different, psychological behavior as well. So in Indian context, if you see, there's a lot of mass herd following. So be it like, engineering degrees, then everyone wants to become engineer or everyone wants to become medical. This herd following, I think, 85 to 95 90% you observe this herd behavior in most of the things which we do. And now, like I observe the same pattern in data science as well. So there are a lot of reasons why people, when I interact with students, I think like 5% of them, I think they're genuinely interested and they're very passionate and all. But then the remaining 95%, I find their interest distributed, or their the reason why they want to become a data scientist as one among these reasons. One is like there's a lot of hype about data science out there in the world, that data scientists get paid very high. And so they want to earn. Okay, data scientists get paid very high, and that's one of the reason. And then you get to be called a scientist without doing a PhD. And that, the name, psychologically it feels good. And there's also a notion that it's a very tough field. It's very lot of mathematics and all that. So even some people just do, they do data analysis work, a little bit of visualization, and calling this scikit-learn libraries and doing some modeling. But then they get to call themselves data scientists. So they're perceived, the way the peers perceive, oh, you're a data, what do you do? Like any party or anywhere you go, like the first thing people ask is, some stranger comes, they ask you, what do you do, right? And when you say data scientist, the way the peer group perceives you, it kind of gives you a good feeling. So that's some of the reasons why people also join. And I would say, like, so the people who are, and there's the other thing, sexiest job and of 21st century. And then these, and then there's a huge demand for data science job. There's also there are a lot of articles which publish stories like, there are so many vacancies for a data science job, which gives a notion that for the next 10 years data science is going to rule the market. So for them it's like, a safe career. When they, people, when they want to choose a career, they want to choose a career which has a lot of jobs. And for sure the time invested in their time and effort they put in learning something, okay, they, for sure their career is safe for the next 10 years, is a feeling which they get. So there are numerous reasons why which motivates people to get into data science. And it's also the herd behavior, what everyone is doing around you. okay, my friends are doing PG diploma in upgrad, then I also want to do. Oh, he's doing masters in data science. Oh, everyone is doing some course or the other. Why am I mean, I can't sit idle. So everyone around me is doing something. So I should also enroll in something. There's your peer pressure, or there could be a lot of varied reason. And but I would say still like 5 to 7% of my students are like genuinely interested and very passionate and all that. So this is a pattern which I have observed in my limited experience. Yeah.
Okay. What do you see, Neha?
So I kind of agree with Usha. I mean, when you talk about analytics, there is a huge spectrum of work that we're talking about, whether it is just a reporting analyst, or at the high end, the data scientist. And there is a lot of hype about it. When you look at skills in the market, well, at the lower end, you find tons of people. At the higher end, who are truly data scientists who can bring the real AI ML value to the table, are very hard to find, at least in India. When I go for hiring, whether again across the entire spectrum, across all type of experience ranges, the biggest skill that I look for is problem solving. Technology, yes, is needed, but I think it is hygiene. And given the world that we live in, technology changes so fast that you cannot really rely on one particular technology. But problem solving, that attitude, is what makes you a good data scientist. Analytics is not just science, it is a bit of art. How well are you able to understand behavior and factor it in a model is what differentiates you as a good data scientist. So that's
That's good, and we'll come back to that very soon. Susan, what do you see in your part of the world? Do you see a lot of people calling themselves data scientists, though they may not be a data scientist, or calling themselves AI people, though they may not be? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's the same. And actually, so I come from a corporate background. I have no qualifications within the data world. I've just learned on the job, and I would not consider myself or call myself any kind of data analyst or scientist. However, I probably have a lot more experience than a lot of people that do call themselves that. And but I think as well, there's a real great focus on the technical side of it. But what is missing a lot is kind of a business knowledge. So I'm kind of sit somewhere in the middle of the business world and the tech world, and kind of bridge that gap, because the two of them don't necessarily talk to each other very well. And I think the data scientists are great at solving a problem, but if they don't understand how the business works, then it might not be the right problem to solve. So I think that's where there's a bit of a gap at the moment.
Okay, I'll tell you one story of mine, which I had a 5-minute interview. So I was hiring people, and I used to have, for some reason, we used to have that interview set up at 5 o'clock in the evening, and because we were stationed in a place which was just outside of the city area, so people had to travel a bit. So I used to have 5 o'clock in meeting. If one of my colleagues is watching this, he would know, because I used to get them in, ask 2 questions, and would say, "Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming." And one of my very good mates, who became a mate afterwards, said, "Sir, he's come all the way there. Please spend 15, 20 minutes with him." But, he's just faked it. And I don't think that I should waste my time and his time and make him feel bad about it. And so I've had those 5-minute interviews as well. Having said that, that also brings another question on what is a true data scientist. And I think there's a lot of misconception around there. So if any one of you is up for defining what a true data scientist is, go for it, because if I was to define it, I have a very blocked view of that, and when I explain it, I don't think that exists in one individual. But anyways, anyone wants to define a true data scientist? How does a true data scientist look like?
I think for me, it would be years of experience, and it's certainly working with AI machine learning. It's not the analytics side. A scientist is building rules, training data, building data sets to train. So it's probably not the most succinct answer, but it's certainly someone who's very highly skilled.
What do you think,
I would
Neha?
Yes, I would add two very important skills to that. One is the industry perspective. I truly do not believe that there is any one person who can seamlessly travel across any industry that you take up. So that industry knowledge and insight into what are the dynamics of that particular industry are very much needed to be a good data scientist. And the second one, I would say, is that willingness to constantly invest in yourself, upgrade yourself to whatever is the latest technology in the market, not just technology, the latest concept. This is such a new field that it is evolving by the day.
Okay. Usha, what do you think?
So for me, I'm not sure. First off, personally, I would say data scientist. I'm not sure if that is the right term we should even use. And so there are a lot of names which comes: machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer, computer vision engineer, research engineer. So a lot of names which comes and goes around. So but I can tell you like what matters by the end of the day. So a lot of people ask me, should we do PhD and masters to become a data scientist, or should we call somebody who has done a PhD and years of experience in research as the person who's rightful enough to do it? But in my experience, I've seen even 11th standard students and 12th standard students becoming the world's youngest grandmasters, and they don't have any kind of an experience. But what is it is they understand what the client wants, and they're willing to stretch themselves to go to any length to solve that problem for that client. And right now, all the companies as well, I think in the geography, US geography, a lot of companies have openly announced it in the media and stuff. They no longer look for masters, and you don't even have to have a degree at all.
Yeah.
As long as what it matters is, are you having the right kind of skills to solve the problem? So all it matters is for that particular client, for that requirement, or if a company is hiring for a specific process, are you having everything it takes to solve that problem? Even if you don't have that skill outright, are you having the ability to learn things quickly? Are you having those kind of an abilities? I mean, nobody can know everything in the world, but can you quickly upskill yourselves? Can you upskill yourself in everything which is needed for that particular project? Or Neha has rightly put solving abilities. And so I think personally, I would look for in future, if I've been in the hiring board for certain clients, I've hired on behalf of certain clients, but those times the clients had specifically given me a certain set of criteria and asked me to, these are the criteria which has to be felt. And for the some internal reasons, they want those criteria to be felt. But personally, if given a choice, the way I would go about hiring is I would give a data problem and then give them a week's time, and would ask them to come up with solutions, and then see how they are evaluating it. And then have conversations with them, for a day or so, and then go about with the hiring. Instead of having sometimes a person might not even have a master's degree, might be a school dropout, but still might be able to come up with wonderful solutions, might have high creativity. So I don't embrace this fact that somebody needs to have a degree to solve a problem. And there's a lot of emphasis met on people who come from tier 1 colleges, especially in India. There's a lot. I don't say people who come from tier 1 colleges shouldn't be given that kind of an importance, but in India there's again this notion of the employers look for people specifically who are from a certain institutions. So I don't embrace that fact as well. But slowly things are improving in certain geographies in the world, in certain geographies in the world, they have come out outright and they have started telling, we no longer need degrees. Google has come out and IBM has openly given an interview in the media itself. So there are a lot of companies who are coming up. So right now we are progressing at a good pace where, at least in one geography, I think the other geographies will slowly pick it up. So this is my point of view on not just specific to data science. This notion will apply to technology on the whole, how people should go about it. Yeah.
Okay. Before I try to put that together and define a data scientist, I think, guys, if you haven't asked your question, then put that question in the comment section, and I will take that question for these three beautiful ladies, and they will try to answer those questions. So please put your question in the comment section and I will take that. That's first thing. If you haven't liked, there are around about 35, 40 people watching this show live at the moment. If you haven't liked the show, please do that so more and more people can learn from these guys. We've got a Kaggle Grandmaster on the show, so we have to make sure that everyone learns from them. We've got a classification guru. We need to learn from her expertise and make sure that more and more people learn from it. So more you like, more and more people will be able to see and get this visibility. So please do like and share with your audience. Now, the question around data scientists. So I think a data scientist is an individual who's got a good knowledge of understanding the domain first, the foundation, the fundamentals of the industry, as Neha said. Someone who can play with data, has a good SQL writing skills, has good data classification, cleaning the data skills, someone who can write a statistical model in a Go, can make sense out of it, and has great communication skills so that he can explain it to the business so that they can execute. All of this in one person, not possible.
No.
So in my world, a true data scientist does not exist. Now, if you try and do that and try and find someone like that, you will fail. So what you do is you create pillars, teams, people who can play with data, people who can write models, people who can communicate. And all of these guys need to have the understanding of the business and the industry understanding, because if they don't, they may come out with an insight which the business may turn around and say, yeah, but we did that purposely. Yeah, that's fine. Good to know.
So that is why storytelling is very important.
And that's where storytelling is very important. So all of these components need to be available in one person. I don't think that's possible. So in my world, a true data scientist does not exist. But anyways, I ask one question to each one of you. When you hire people, what is your interview process? What do you give them? Do you give them a set of data to play with and build something? And Usha, you explained that you give them some data and tell them to come back and find out problems. But what do you look at, Neha, when you look at interviewing people? What is your process? So let people understand that, so when they're trying to approach you, they know what to expect.
So my process is very much on the lines what I said earlier. My first criteria is problem solving. In the first round of discussion, I never talk about any technology. I just assess the problem solving skills of a person. The second round is very much in line with what Usha said. We throw tons of data and a problem at a person, give him time, him or her time, come back with a model, come back with what you find from that data, and based on a specific technology for what we are hiring.
Okay. What do you think, Susan, on that? What do you do?
So, for me, I give them a test file to classify, and what I'm looking for from that is not necessarily that it's accurate, but their thinking process. So actually, in the work that I do, it's more important to have a kind of broader knowledge of how the corporate world works and how they spend their money than it would be for them to have the technical skills to work the software. That can be trained, but the kind of knowledge of something like DHL. Mm-hmm. So for myself or you guys, we might use them as a courier, but if we're a manufacturer, a retailer, then they're probably going to be used for logistics, warehousing, that kind of service. And it's just literally life, corporate world experience that gives you that knowledge. It's not really something that you can train quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But if I give them a test file, I can see that from their answers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a good way of testing whether they can do something. One question around classification or cleaning data. Do you use any statistical techniques to actually classify and find out information that is missing? For example, and I'll tell you a very simple one. When girls get married, they change their names, their surnames.
Right.
Now, when you're doing a customer data file, and you've got a duplicate of Neha Jain and Neha Puliani, and she's not done Neha Jain Puliani in that case. Now, let me get rid of this so that people see that. How do you make sure that these are Neha Jain and Neha Puliani are the same people? That's a data cleansing exercise.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's for me, but I don't deal an awful lot with personal information. But the software that I use can deduplicate on multiple fields. So when I have done database cleansing, I can dedupe on the first name, the last name, the telephone number, the email address. And if it comes back that there's two lines with the same email address but different names, then you would look at things like when was the record last updated. So for me, it's a manual process. I'm sure that Neha and Usha have some great technology or scripts that they use for that. But that's how I would do that.
Usha, do you have any solution for this problem? I have one.
Right now, if you see, there are a lot of algorithms, especially which are already coming out, implemented in Scikit-learn. So GBM and gradient, there are several algorithms which doesn't require you to, do the imputation. They do the imputation automatically. So we have reached the stage where there are some machine learning algorithms where we don't even require to do the manual imputation techniques or imputation using k-nearest neighbors or imputation using mean, bfill, and all these things. For certain algorithms which we don't do, and those are ensembling based algorithms. Generally, if you see machine learning, ensembling algorithm, not just machine learning. Right now, I'm participating in a Kaggle competition, which is like melanoma skin cancer classification. So for this skin cancer classification, it's like this problem is given by this problem. It's been happening on 2018, 2019, 2020. So for the 3 years, it's been happening continuously. So if you go to 2019 skin cancer melanoma classification, there's a leaderboard. If you go, there are two ways the problem has been solved. If you just click on both the tabs, all the 64 solutions which has been presented are ensembling based techniques. So right now we have several ensembling machine learning algorithms which has come up, which will handle data imputation by itself. So we
Okay.
just have to give the data in the right format. So there are a lot of advanced packages because every month, every week there is advanced packages which is coming up, and so there are a lot of technology which is available, which this data imputation process is automated. So we are in the right phase when it comes for missing data handling and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neha, do you have any other point of view on that?
Now, I completely agree with Usha that the industry has evolved from very crude techniques to k-nearest neighbors, and now advanced packages to clean up your data. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. And to what, if anyone who's watching who's worked with me in the past would say that we use neural network because your behavior will not change. And Usha said that again. Your behavior is not changing, just your name or your title is changing. If your behavior is not changing, and if you can just match your behavior before and after, and of course you've got your date of birth and all the other characteristics, you can actually very, very simply find the dedupe there. One question that comes to mind, and I ask that in every show, that the women in data science, because I'm trying to find out women to, come on the show, I find very few. And I think it's with every, and I've been told on this show that it's been on in every industry, in every IT environment. What do you think? What's stopping us to have lots of women in data science, or am I missing something? Who wants to go? Neha?
I wish there was an answer for that, Shailendra. I completely agree. It is not just data science, it is every industry where you will find very few women. But uh, I, it's it's a holistic problem to solve. For people sitting together, I do not think can answer that question. It is, generations of the mindset that has been developed. It is the kind of opportunities that are available when you're growing up, not at work, but when you're growing up, that develops your mindset to what length you can go in life after you've grown up. What kind of a environment are you brought into, and what kind of a support system is available for you. I do not say that it is not changing. It is changing. The kind of life I live and the kind of life I will not even compare to my mother. I mean, my cousins and all 10 years elder to me lived is extremely different. So the change is happening. But as I said, it's a holistic problem to solve at multiple fronts.
Hey, Usha, what do you
Change
think?
that.
I think the situation is slowly changing because I've been leading women in machine learning and data science from the last 3 years and across multiple cities. And I also go across different states in India to train people. So I've observed different people. I don't find this could be a very personalized opinion as well. It's opinion based on my experiences, so I don't want to project it as the right opinion and all that. It's just sharing my experiences. So what I see is, so when I observe the university specifically, I don't find any difference in the skill set between women and men. In fact, I find women more aggressive in performing things, more attentive, especially in universities, colleges. When I go, they're more attentive and more serious, and they're more aggressive in solving the problems which I give as a trainer when I give them assignments and all that. So I don't find any difference in the skill set of between the genders. And the decrease, I think the one thing which I've noticed is, see, although data science is a huge hit here in the metropolitan cities, and there are a lot of places where the data science is still not kicked in, the remote places which have gone for training. So if you take Mysore, so Mysore people won't say Mysore is a well developed city. If you've visited Mysore, I think it's a well planned, very clean and well developed city. In terms of Bangalore, if you see compared to Bangalore, I think you will find everything you get in Bangalore in Mysore as well. But in February 2020, when I traveled to Mysore to give workshops across 6 universities, I've trained 1,000 students. So one thing which I've observed was there are lots of areas in Mysore, universities in Mysore. It was a women-only college where I trained. People haven't heard of data science itself. And
Ah,
and after I finished the training, they told me like, ma'am, this is the first time we had training like any in all these 4 years of engineering. This is the first time ever I had some training like this. So there are still, I think this revolution is still not clear, kicked into every part of India. So there are still a lot of remote colleges where they are in their own world. And and one more thing which I noticed in when I went not to the metro, I also traveled to metropolitan cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and all, where the things are little different. To little remote areas when I traveled, people, irrespective of the gender, they have not used medium at all. So you see medium in, you ask somebody in Bangalore, I mean, even some 8th standard kid would have used medium, or everyone uses medium here. They read blogs, and that's how they start expressing their thoughts and all. But in certain cities outside these tier one cities, when I went, they have not even used medium. So there are a lot of things which they're not comfortable with. For example, I organize around 8 communities in data science. Uh, so uh, uh, so there are like 3 to 4 chapters which I lead in Mysore as well. So
mhm.
initially when I started these chapter, for example, you take TensorFlow user group. TensorFlow user group Mysore is the biggest chapter in India itself. We just started our first event in March end. And in a matter of like 5 months, we've become the biggest chapter. But the initial challenges in building up the chapter, which we felt was the people in Mysore were not comfortable using meetup.com app. They were not
Oh,
comfortable using it. They said they'll fill in Google Form, but they're just not comfortable with Meetup.com. So I find there are other factors. There are a lot of factors. This is one problem which is like very difficult to solve and very difficult to say. This is the reason why women are not participating. If you take in terms of skill set, are men are having more problem solving capability than women? I don't agree with that. In my experience as an instructor, I find women equally good in problem solving. So what are the other factors? Could be like in terms of women take a break when it comes for maternity leave and all that. That time there's a career break and stuff. And during that career break, there are a lot of women upskill themselves, and they take this upgrad course, or they take some kind of, there are a lot of data science courses out there in the market. They upskill themselves in some of the courses. And after there are few people whom I met have year gap of three, somewhere between the women who have taken break, they have a gap from somewhere between 3 to 8 years. So in these when they have an 8 year gap and they have finished an diploma program or some data science course, the companies are very hesitant in hiring them, even if they possess all the skills. They are very hesitant. And there are few companies, they have programs like Intuit Back to Work, Women Back to Work. There are many companies which have programs, those companies are able to hire only a certain fraction of women. So yeah, certain companies, they don't have like 10,000 openings for women back to work. The number of openings is limited. And there are like research divisions in India where they hire women who has taken a break. They have policies, very clearly defined policies, but number of openings there is limited. So if you see the number of women who have taken a break and they have finished some diploma course or the other, the number is huge. They're all skilled. They all know database. They all have taken that the entire 12-month program. They're all solving problems also. I've seen the GitHub repositories, but they have applied to like 100 internship opportunities and no one is hiring them.
okay.
So you can't say the reason is like our company is still interested in hiring them, although they have policies. The number of openings which they have under those policies are limited, and still these women have applied to those programs, and still in those programs have rejected them as well. But personally, when I have assessed them, I found them very good. They're quite capable. They've upskilled themselves in a level where anyone can take them for sure. So that problem is also there. I think and there one more thing is, see, if you take big corporations, I don't have to say the names, it's very evident from the policies. I think all of you will know what the companies which I'm talking about. So the big corporations, the most of the corporations have got clearly defined back to work women back to work policies. Almost any big company you take, they have. But startups, they're still hesitant. If you take startups, they fall under two categories. One is this before funding stage, but the founders have little bit of funding to survive. They can hire only 4 to 5 graduates, and that time they just prefer though at that stage the startups only prefer somebody who is third year or final year of engineering from tier 1 and tier 2 universities like IIT. They just want interns from them, so they can pay less and they can still survive and bring out a product. At that time, they don't want, when they have a limited funding, they don't want to take the risk of, although a particular candidate is highly skilled and but she had a break, they're little hesitant in hiring these people. And there are other then this is one category. And even startups who have got funding, who have got pretty much good funding, and it's out there in the newspapers, like they've got good funding and they're great state and all that. Even there, they are still in the early stage, putting up several policies. They're still in the early stage of growth and stuff. They're very thoughtful about every step which they take and stuff. So they would introduce such policies, but over a period of time, it still takes time. So I would say there are still number of women who are highly skilled, but they have taken a break, but they're highly skilled. But our company is willing to hire them. And even if they have policies, can they increase that window to accommodate these people? So I think these are my observations, which I would put forward. For people who are watching this, can take a decision based on that.
Okay. And what is there in your part of the world, Susan?
So I think it's so my experience is that I think to get in to the data world at my age, I'm 40 now, I think it's the people around are still the senior people are still very much, it's male dominated. So I think you need to be have a strong personality to just basically muscle your way in. You know, the last place I worked, it was all men in the office, and you know, they didn't treat me any differently, but you could tell that the atmosphere would have been slightly different if I wasn't there. I think you need a good balance. And then also on the flip side, I've worked in the corporate world where there are more women, but women are not helpful of other women. I find in the corporate world, it's almost like they're threatened of other women because there's so few jobs. They want to protect their own, so they don't support other women coming up. Whereas I think in the data world, that's very different. You know, women are supporting other women, and hopefully, you know, like the three of us, you know, we can be something to look up to and to aspire to for the students that are coming through now. And I see a lot of young women who've connected with me on LinkedIn who are training to be data scientists, analysts, who obviously feel like that not only is that an opportunity for them, but that is completely achievable as well. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for those younger people coming through. But when you have a large group of males making the decisions, who at the moment are of an older generation as well, it is more difficult. You know, even being a female business owner as well, I've had I've been at exhibitions with my stand. They're on my own, representing my business, and people have come past and said, "Oh, are you on your own?" Yeah. "Oh, is this your business?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Good for you." And you know, and I'm sure they meant really well, but it felt really patronizing. And even now, having conversations with other business owners, on occasions I'm spoken down to or told how to run my business. So there's definitely still we need still a mindset change, but I think it is slowly kind of changing. But please don't tell me how to run my business. That will not end well.
No, okay. So thank you, girls. I would say one thing, that to you and to people who are watching, if you know women in data science, I'm here to promote that cause. So if you know any women in data science, you want them to be on the show, please send their link or their details to me, and I will make sure that they're here, and we can understand their point of view and put them across to the world, so everyone knows their point of view in terms of data science and what they're thinking and what they bring to the table and so forth. More than happy to do that. And please, if you know someone, please mention their name in the comment section, and I will take it. I will bring them forward. Now, I've been doing that. This is the 10th episode. So I've imagined we've got 30 women in data science so far, 3 each episode. And this is the 10th episode. So you are the 30th one. Decide whichever one decides to be the 30th one is fine. Okay, let's get to the next question and our next section before the audience question and answer. So guys, if you've got a question for these girls, please put that in the comment section, and I will take that question definitely for these girls, and we will answer them one by one. And also, if you've not liked the session yet, please press the like button. Okay, next section. We're talking about success stories. I always say nothing succeeds like success. And furthermore, in data science, nothing succeeds like success. So girls, any success story, whether you were involved in or you were not involved in, does not matter. What matters is that if you've seen a success story that you think actually made a difference to the business, monetary, non-monetary, doesn't matter, then please share it with the world. Your opportunity to share your success story or the success story that you've seen is now. So I would go with Susan this time.
Okay. I think my business, actually. So I started it 3 years ago, having spent 5 years working for a spend analytics company, having never worked with data before that. And I really loved what I was doing, but because I didn't come from procurement or data world, I didn't know where else I could get a job doing the same thing. So without a single connection in the data or procurement world, I set up my business. and I then started to exhibit and get engaged on LinkedIn. And the first year and a half was really tough, and then about a year and a half ago I started becoming more active on LinkedIn, and now I'm sitting here talking to you. A year ago that wouldn't have even been on my radar. So I think if you believe in yourself, regardless of what everyone else says, and you got some determination, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm now doing my biggest project to date, which is classification of 2.3 million rows of data. For a huge client, it's really going to change things for me. And it's been, persistence and a lot of tears and a lot of hard work and sleepless nights, but it's absolutely been worth it. And it doesn't matter whether it's a business or a career. If you have that mindset, then that will get you really far.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Any success stories, Neha? Do you have any to share?
Sure. I'll share a success story from an actual problem that is solved. So one of my previous organizations, and as I already said, I work for non-US geographies. The context being that US has, a lot of revenue to work on as many analytics models as they want to. But as you move away from US, some of these budgets get very, very small. And that is where the challenge is, that how do you get creative and bring value to the business. So one thing that we did, which was a lot of value add to the organization, made a lot of monetary impact, is to adopt a productized approach. Instead of a project-based approach, adopt a productized approach for a particular optimization platform that we wanted to develop, and took that platform to about 50 plus countries in non-US, which is Europe, Asia Pac, and LATAM region. What it helped us was, it significantly brought down the cost of implementation because we took a productized approach. Of course, it was a lot of upfront investment, but when we were actually putting it into operations and implementing it, the cost of implementation was brought down. It also enabled a lot of knowledge sharing, best practice learning across the organization, across the globe. And of course, the end result of it was optimization of a field force, which eventually helped us, optimize our marketing efforts better and generate cost savings for the organization. So it depends how you approach a particular problem. You can enable the objective not just at the end, but right from the beginning of it.
Okay. Usha, do you have any success stories to share?
All right. Is it the success story for the clients whom I've worked with, or the success story of my personal life, or what is it?
No, success story of any client that you've delivered success, a use case that you've delivered which was very successful.
All right. One of the use cases which I worked, I think last year, January, was something which I worked was very, very challenging. So it is like, people, when you work with very less amount of data, and especially when you work with, when you work with some high critical applications where you cannot afford inaccuracy. So especially banking applications you take. So you are dealing with customer transactions, and you're dealing with highly secure, transactions and stuff. You cannot afford to make a mistake. Imagine, and there are so many stories out there because of banking fraud, billions of dollars got lost. So there's a lot of frauds which is happening, especially in financial and banking industry. So these are places where highly critical, where you cannot afford to make a mistake. So your model cannot fail. That's one constraint. And the second thing is, the problem itself, the use case itself is very tough. It's like you have a very less data, and it's in the cybersecurity space. Banking, so I cannot reveal a lot of things because of the NDA and all, but I'll give you a gist of it. So the problem is very critical, where you have very less data. It's like very limited transactions, less in the sense it's too less. So you just have one row of data, and you just have to, the automatically model has to automatically learn on the go. So this was one of the most challenging problems which I've worked with. And there were a lot of research papers which has come out in this particular area. And we couldn't find any fully. There were a lot of research papers which has come out, but we couldn't find any fully working implementation which we could customize to our individual project. And but we somehow we found a fix for this problem, and it successfully went for a pilot. So we had developed a solution for the pilot, and it was quite successful. We deployed it in an Indian geography as well, and outside India as well, and it was the most for me, I would say it was the most challenging and something which I thought I could never do it. And initially when I was given the problem, I was like, the first 1 week I was thinking, this is not possible, no one can ever do it, is what the thought which I had. But over a period of time, gradually interacting with several stakeholders, multiple meetings, and by the end of 3 to 4 months, and we were able to pull off something, and which got successfully was deployed for a pilot. In Indian context, you can imagine getting a pilot in a multinational bank, Indian bank, is the toughest thing. I mean, you can never get. I mean, Indian banking customers are like very tough to adopt. They would never agree. I mean, the kind of process you go through, and so this is one of the huge successes I have had in my clientele in and my span as a data science consultant.
Good stuff. Okay, now final question, and then we'll get to the audience questions. There are quite a few. When we started in the first 15 minutes, I thought there were only 3 or 4, and then suddenly there is so many. So we've got a lot of questions to answer, but one question to all of you, and one of you can raise your hand and answer that question, and that is, how can data science help in the COVID-19 situation? I ask that question every time because it is very important for us to get these intelligent brains to tell us what can be done for COVID-19. So who wants to go? Okay. Neha.
I think so. As much as we all hate COVID-19, at least in the world of analytics and data scientists, as Usha said that this is going to stay for the next 10 years. I disagree. I think it is going to stay for the next 50 years because with COVID-19, more and more businesses are going online. With businesses going online, there is more and more data to analyze. And the question that we should all be asking is, are we really prepared? Are organizations really prepared to deal with this new wave of data that is going to hit us?
Okay. Any particular use case or any particular area that you think that data science can help solve the problem?
Yes. So, in fact, I'll be jumping the gun a bit ahead. One of the questions posed, I'll try to take that particular use case and try to answer that question. One of the questions posed is that, how can companies leverage AI ML to better equip their sales force? Right. In the COVID-19 situation, there are a lot of sales efforts that are now happening online. Right. With that. When you talk about the kind of content that a sales rep wants to use to talk to a customer, when you want to analyze the behavior of the customer that you are reaching to, right now all marketing, all sales efforts was offline. Can you really take that customer, put it into an online setting and approach that person in the same way? Absolutely not. That is where data science can help. That is where data science can help understand that person's behavior in a virtual setting and provide the right cues to a sales rep to understand how that person should be approached, what is his preferred mode of communication in a virtual setting, what is the preferred time, what type of content is that person interested in, what type of questions are coming from that person among a community of customers, who is the key person who is referring and bringing in more customers on board. These are some of the very basic things which data science can help you answer, provide as inputs to your field force and optimize their effort.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's get to the audience question and answer. Anyone wants to say anything? Susan?
I was just going to say actually around dirty data. So I think what the COVID example has shown is that every country has used different data capture, different sampling methods. So when you're comparing across countries, it's not like for like. So I think it highlights the importance of actually thinking about how you want to capture your data and how you're going to compare it and those kind of good things.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Usha, do you want to add anything?
I think for the COVID situation, there's recently a Kaggle competition which is running off, which is not a featured competition. Mean you don't get medals for that competition, but it's an open competition to anyone who can participate. A particular company wants to use AI for drug discovery for COVID-19. So they have put out a competition out there. So anybody who's watching the show, if you're interested and if you have good technological skills and data science skills which you can contribute, people can go. And even in Kaggle, there has been a lot of COVID competitions related, which was around literature search, where mining through huge database, finding the insights and all that. But I think drug discovery is one field. There are two things: one, to solve the problem, which is to get a vaccine or the medicine. There are. I mean, it's still in a nascent stage, and there are few companies. Even if you find a vaccine, I mean, even if you discover, something which might work, through AI, there are a lot of processes post that. That is, to get an approval for, human trials and all that. I think even if AI is going to help, and there are a lot of multiple factors which might still delay the vaccine production and all that. So I potentially find biggest use case lies in the drug discovery, and there are a lot of people who are still doing, and they who have some positive things to say about drug discovery using AI. But what's stopping them from getting into production are the other factors. You need to get several permissions for trying it out, doing human trials, and after human trials also you'll have to observe the effect, and going back and forth is still going to take time. I don't know. I'm just hoping for magic to happen when it comes for using AI, vaccines and all that. Yeah, this is my thought process.
Okay, perfect. So let's get on to the question and answers. So, guys, all the audience, people who are watching, I think we've still got around about 40 people watching. Guys, if you have any question, this is your opportunity to ask the question. I will take each and every question now, and then after the question, there will be the gift. So, gift is coming. Don't worry. Okay, let's go. The first comment is from Poonam Sood on LinkedIn, and she says, "Hi all. Hi Poonam, how are you?" Next comment comes from Prapul Palli, and he says, "Good to see you all, Prapul. If he knows any one of you, hi Prapul, and you want to say hi to him, it's up to you." Question from Poonam Sood, and she says, "I am a data analyst, want to become a data scientist. Can you please advise where to start and who wants to have a go at that?" Usha?
Yeah. So if you're a data analyst and you want to become a data scientist, for in the hiring perspective, I'll give you some advice. So right now, a lot of people take courses. I would say, you can do still some good courses out there like MicroMasters and all that, which will give you, for example, you do a MicroMasters from EDX, which will give you 1/4 of the credit of the entire master's degree. And if you do get it from MIT and all, so clearing an MIT MicroMasters is not that easy. So you will have to take a video exam. That is, the video will be turned on and you will take an exam. It's not an exam which the other courses which do. So that's very tough. If you can pull up some good courses like this is general, not for this specific question. If you're looking for a transition right now, because of COVID situation, a lot of companies are firing, and there are very few companies who are still hiring, but there are a lot of firing which is happening. So the job market is a little tougher right now. And for I see, like, for 5 openings, I see around 1,500 applications out there. So, for just 2, 3 openings, there are 600 to 700, and this 600 to 700 applications just got filled in 3 days. And imagine if they had left it for 10, 15 days. So right now the competition is very huge, especially if you're looking for transition either from data analyst to data scientist, or from a different technology domain to data scientist. You need to stand out from the crowd. What can you do to differentiate yourself? So even if you build up these skills using courses, it's still not enough. But doing something attractive, like getting a MicroMasters degree from MIT. MIT is very, very difficult to cover. The syllabus is little tough. I've checked out the course syllabus. So you can get pick up something. Like, when you do courses, just don't do some online courses which you can send the on answers online, and that doesn't differentiate you. So if you do an MIT master's, it means for the entire master's credit, if you require 36 credits, then you get the one-fourth of the credit, through this master's program. You can still go do your master's, complete your master's with the remaining credits. This is an attractive option. And then once you do this course, and either you want to do a course or you can pick up the skills, online by reading blogs or whatever it is. Once you pick up the theoretical knowledge, try to implement, take a use case, take a data set, try to implement the knowledge which you have learned. For example, you're learning TensorFlow. See, there's a TensorFlow documentation. There's very clear documentation for every particular API, how to use that API, how to apply that API, the syntax, small use case. They've given already a toy example. They would take toy data set and they would have implemented it. Read through the API documentation or whatever it is and try to apply it to a real world problem. Or there are low, so for NLP, you can take a big bad database in NLP. So that's a huge database where you have like thousands of data sets, where you can take some data sets from there, implement it on a different data set. First, start by looking at somebody's implementation, just doing replicating. This first step could be replicating it on a different data set. Then you can take a totally different problem. For example, I saw a lot of people who have been using TensorFlow to clean the air. A bunch of students from Delhi. What they did was they used prepared some device called air clarifier. That is, you can just take an image and you can just upload it to the model. The model will give you exact prediction how pure the air is or not. This they have built out. This they have just solved an environmental problem. So there are a lot of burning problems out there. And so these burning problems, you can take some data set. For the data collection may get tricky, but it's not impossible, especially with a lot of crowdsourcing technologies. It's not impossible, but it requires some dedicated effort every day. So find out some burning problem in the society. First off, you'll be contributing to the community, and you'll also add a project to your portfolio. Project matters. No, I mean, the excellent MicroMasters course can get you an interview, but to get a job, the kind of portfolio project which you have on board matters a lot. So to build a project, see, I find a lot of master students in US. That too from University of Texas. I got this. One of the University of Texas, one of the master student, after completing her master, she's sending me a resume. And she's saying, I applied for so many jobs. I'm still not getting. I just went through her project. I was so shocked. She had put under the project section, she has put Titanic and Yemenist data set. So these are like toy problems. When you learn toy problems in data science, if you put this under your project sections, there's higher probability your resume, the interviewer will not even look at your resume. You will not, and she was not getting any resume calls. So the kind of projects which you put, you need to work really hard on it. And some of the ways which you can stand out from the crowd is like taking a burning community problem like this and solving it. And there are also like some of the people are having, for AWS, you have AWS project showcase. Recently Microsoft Azure has got some devs tool. That is, you can apply one of the Azure technologies and you can write a blog and submit to them, and if your blog is very good, they'll publicize it. Right now TensorFlow is conducting TensorFlow project showcase. That is, if you use a TensorFlow to any of the project, you can just submit to them, they will publicize it. So these are avenues for you. You can do your work and submit to them, they'll do the marketing for you. So when your project gets selected in one of the avenues and you get you get that thing, that also adds value to your profile. So you can try out like this, try solving community projects, get the good project, put good projects on your board. And also there are a lot of concepts, especially I come from a domain where probabilistic graphical models, where there's a lot of not many articles out there which simplifies those concepts. So there is no shortage of concepts in machine learning which are very complex. So there are a lot of advanced concepts which require simplified blocks. So what you can do is you can read these concepts, right? Can you take this complex concept, explain it to somebody who's totally new? And you can write some blogs. Everybody is writing article on convolutional neural network. Everybody is writing article on these commonly used concepts. How you can differentiate yourself in the blogging is, there are still advanced machine learning, probabilistic graphical models. There's still some advanced concept where there are not many blocks out there. So take these concepts. Can you draw some nice visualizing diagrams, and can you make this complex concept easier to other people? These are some ways where you can experiment on blogging. Add that as a portfolio to your resume as well. These are ways in which you can differentiate yourself from the crowd. Right now the market is little tough. there are still companies, a lot of startups who are still hiring, but there are parallelly there are a lot of startups, who are hiring as well. So to differentiate yourself from the crowd, I would suggest good projects, good blogs, and these are some things. And public speaking. See, there are a lot of platforms where you can, a lot of people, communities in India especially, they are sending out CFP forms, call for proposals. We are organizing TensorFlow user group summit on 3rd to 6th. So the last day for submitting proposal just got over yesterday. And so, I mean, there are a lot of, there are a lot of openings, conferences which are happening. Not just conferences. Start with the meetups. If you're somebody who's totally new to public speaking, start with a meetup. Go to approach the meetup communities in your local area and just tell them. Every meetup I know in Bangalore has got call for proposal CFP form where which you can fill in, and anybody who fills, I know certain communities who give an opportunity to anybody who fills a CFP form. There are many platforms like that. If you're not able to find, please reach out to me. I lead 8 communities. I can definitely give you a speaking opportunities. So you can speak in these communities, kickstart your public speaking career as well. Because right now, this will also serve as a differentiator to stand out from the crowd. So public speaking, blogging, then great projects on board can help you with the transition is what I recommend.
Okay. So, yep, go on.
I was just going to say, actually, before all that, and that was great advice, but why do you want to become a data scientist? It's about what we talked about before. Is it because you think that's the glamorous job, or is it because you genuinely are interested in the real technical knowledge that's involved? So
that's a good question. So Poonam, if you're watching, then please answer that question. Why do you actually want to become a data scientist in the first place? And put that in the comment section. And I would say that this question has been asked to me so many times. So I promised last time that I will create a video to explain what to do. That video has been shot. It will be on YouTube very soon. So I will send that link as well, so you guys can understand my point of view on that. Let's move on to the next question.
Shalin, to that point, this is a question that is extremely common. I'll just add one point. If anyone out there is planning to do a course to upskill themselves as a recruiter, my only suggestion is pick a course which has an internship, a minimum 6-month internship. That is your easiest route to gain that practical experience and find a way in.
I would say don't pick up a course. That's a different story. We will go there.
I said if anyone is planning to do a course, do not pick a course without an
No, that's fine. That's perfect. Okay, let's go to the next question. Next question is from Doha Wail Azab, and he says, "What is the best editor that executes code used to write SQLite code?" Anyone has a one word answer? No. I don't think we do a lot of SQL, guys, but
you can use Visual Studio. I mean, it depends on the platform which your company specific client is using. So when I work with clients who are dealing with Microsoft Azure, I mean, we use Visual Studio, which you have got a platform SQLite Visual Studio. You've got an editor for dealing with SQLite code. So again, it varies from different client to client. I think for different clients, I use different editors based on the ecosystem which I'm working on. So most of the online ecosystems, they come up with Visual SQLite code editors. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, next question. Nagamesh Kamidi on LinkedIn. Hi Nagamahesh, Nagamahesh. Hi Nagamahesh, how are you? Almost every company in the world have support systems, support teams, and pre-sales teams. What could be the impact of data science, machine learning for automation for these teams? Anyone wants to have a go?
Yeah.
Yep, Usha.
So, what I was recently on Saturday, we had Women in Data Science Bangalore conference. So the keynote speaker was actually covering this particular topic. That is how data science companies are using, for the support team and pre-sales team, how they are using data science here. So if you take support and pre-sale, this is a solution which is already being deployed and implemented, and several clients are already using. Several clients of that particular big MNC are already using it. So it's already out there. See, there are a lot of in the support documents. There are a lot of documents out there. There are a lot of documents where a lot of NLP use cases, NLP algorithms can be applied. You can implement an NLP chatbot going through this huge volume of support documents. So there's a lot of NLP use cases in support team and pre-sales team. And one of the most common thing is chatbot. The other thing is also, like, there are a lot of entity recognition problems which is being recognized as well. So there are a lot of use cases out there in terms of support team, because when you take a support team or something, there are a lot of documents out there, rich text data. So there's huge volumes of text data available. So there are a lot of products already available out there in the market for dealing with support and pre-sales team. So this is my observations from other stock.
Okay, so what I think the impact on these teams is that it is going to only improve their way of doing business. And if you're alluding to the fact that will that impact their jobs, I doubt that. Instead of that, it will only help them answer the questions that the customer has for them. So it is only going to be a support system, and it's not going to take away their jobs, if that's what you're alluding to. That's my point on that. Yeah, Neha, you want to add?
Yes, I can give, I'm not sure, Nagmahesh, which industry are you from, but in terms of support and pre-sales, I'll give a very specific use case example to explain how this can help. Let us say high-tech products industry, right? And we all know that how commonly equipped high-tech product equipments, they fail at a customer site. One of the good use case from machine learning can be to collate all those failure fault points together and predict the life or the failure points for any equipment, feed that back to the support team and the pre-sales team. How a support team can use it is place in a preemptive request for a customer service. How a pre-sales team can use it is design their service contract accordingly when they're signing up a new deal. Very specific use case, but very much relevant. And as Sharon said, it's not taking away job from anyone. It is just helping them be more effective, be more customer focused, and identify the need and answer that.
Perfect. Guys, if you've not liked the show so far, just like it so more and more people can get access to the show. And please share it with your network, with your audience. Next question is from R Kiran 15 from YouTube, and they say, as Neha mentioned, this is for you, Neha. There are a lot of people at the bottom of the spectrum in the field of data science. How does one develop the mindset to go the distance?
I hope Poonam's question and the answer to that answered some bit of it. It's very much the same question. As Usha said, there are multiple forums. There are people adopt different ways to do it. One is, so invest in upskilling yourself, whether it is through a course, whether it is through research projects, whether it is through pro bono work. But the only way to upskill yourself is to gain some hands-on experience and then move the ladder up.
Okay. And as Susan said, why do you want to become a data scientist in the first place? So that is a question you ask yourself first.
I'd also just add determination again. You might have to apply for a lot of jobs. Keep going and also stay curious. The best data scientists, like normal scientists, is they're always looking for an answer or a fix to something. So find that point of difference and make yourself stand out from the rest as well.
Okay, good stuff. Next question is from Sambal Nakwi. Hi Sambal, how are you? And he says, what is the scope of person getting back to data science platform, having a gap of say 8 to 10 years from software development background and now trying to get back to work? Which with courses in Python, ML, etc., are industries actually investing in getting people skilled and giving one platform? Plus, how can one connect to right people? I think the last question, connecting to right people, has been taken at length by Usha and Neha earlier about the meetup groups and so forth. Courses, yes, industries are investing in getting the people upskilled, because that is the way the future is getting towards. And I think if you get into those courses and get yourself aligned, solve some social problems. I don't. I usually say, do you really need a job? I think, like Susan, you may be giving jobs. If you're intelligent enough, you're a software developer, you have a good knowledge of statistics, and you can solve a couple of social problems, people will be running after you. I think it's a different ball game. And that's what I think, and take it from there. Possibly, Sambal, if that answers your question.
Could I just add LinkedIn as well? So,
Yep.
post on LinkedIn, write blogs on LinkedIn, make content on LinkedIn, get yourself noticed, connect with the right people that you want to catch the attention of.
Okay, perfect. Daniel Hammond said we are watching live. Yes, guys, if you're watching this live, please mention live in the comment section. If you're watching a replay, please say replay, so that we know how many people are actually watching live and how many people are watch this replay. Next question is from Pragisha Chavla. Hi, Pragisha. Nice name. And I heard it for the first time. So, Pragisha, I think the problem not only lies in the term data scientist, but also in the job descriptions of these positions. The JDs explicitly mention almost all of the technology and tools available out there, which is intimidating and doesn't pave out a clear path for new and upcoming candidates. What's your take on this? Who wants to go?
As a recruiter, what I would say is that just ignore the jargon. I mean, no. Honestly, if you see a JD put out there which has only terms and jargons, that is your biggest cue that company is still figuring out their data strategy. They do not even know what they want to do.
And I have an answer to that question, because data science, or it has been portrayed as something that no one knows. And you know how that is happening in organizations, and I give that example almost in every show, is that some people, some C-level people, they go on to the US or to the UK to attend events, some of my events as well, and someone tells them that they need to invest in data science. And so they come back, and then they talk to their CIO and tell them, you know what, Shelly told us that we need to invest in data science. And so they ask the CIO to look into whether we can do something in data science, because it's going to give them a lot of money, and it's going to help them in increasing their revenue and optimizing their costs. So we need to do something in data science. So they ask the CIO, and the CIO, without knowing, because it is to do with data and with coding, asked one of the project managers, why don't you hire a data scientist? And so they go on to LinkedIn and find out various job descriptions and compile all the job descriptions together into one job description, and they put it out there. And now what happens? Then the recruiter, he picks up that job description and he starts doing control F, control F, and you start finding people who've done some SAS job or some R job or some, they need a data scientist. That's how it happens. So the problem is, there is people right at the top who do not understand the value that a data science project can provide, let alone anyone else. And they are being driven by large organizations who tell them that they need to do AI, machine learning, data science. I bet all of those guys, bring them into a room and ask them to explain it, they will fail. That is the problem. Sorry, I've taken too much and I've gone
Yeah,
too far.
but there are other things as well. So some of the problems which I would like to highlight here are, so these are my, on interacting with my students on why they are not able to get the jobs and all these. I'm just sharing a collective experience of my students. So some of the common problems which they face is they are applying for a job which has so many jargons and all. So the first round of interview is with the HR. And HR, has a predefined set of questions, and the HR is asking. So the HR is not a data scientist. It's not necessarily under the role of HR. I'm just giving it as HR, but some person who's doing this role, and that person is, has some predefined answers for each question and is expecting that answer. So when the interviewee, she rephrases it in a different way, then that question is marked wrong. this is the first step. So they're not even able to cross this first step, to get into and get an interview with the actual data scientist. This is a problem which a lot of people have called out on this behavior out in LinkedIn as well. And so a lot of my students are facing this problem. I think anybody who's watching the show, please revise your hiring strategy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If we're running short of time, we need to run through a lot of questions, guys. So, not only the new candidate, but also the candidates with a few years of experience suffer from the imposter syndrome in the industry. Rather than being an expert in a particular area like data cleaning or modeling or visualization, people are all over the place trying to learn everything. I absolutely agree with you, Pragisha. You've hit the nail on the head, and I did say that you can't find data scientists in one individual. It's not possible. I have done that for so many years, and I couldn't find one person who could actually do all of it. So you're right. Next. Next question is from Shama Tiku. Hi Shama, how are you? Are there any organizations which invest in and train people coming from a gap after an experience of around 14 years? I think Shama, that question was answered earlier, but if anyone wants to name any organization you've seen, please mention that. Guys.
There are a lot of companies who are hiring. I'll just list a few startups and few things. There's a company called CrediWatch, which organized hackathon for moms specifically. Moms, in the sense, somebody who has taken break from work and are having kids. For that, people who fall under that category, they've asked, kept a hiring hackathon where you don't have to code and all. You just have to go there and brainstorm ideas and come up with teams and all that, and they observe based on your performance. There are not, I'm just naming one startup, but there's several startups which had organized several hackathons specifically targeted towards moms who have taken break. And when you come for big MNCs, Intuit has a program, and then Intel has got a program, and IBM Research has got a program. And for IBM Research and many of the companies, it is like minimum of 2 years break. So you can exceed as long as there's no like maximum cap on number of years you should have had break. But you should have had a break of minimum 2 years to qualify the program. I think you qualify for it. So IBM Research also has a program. And I think almost every company, most of the companies, they have women coming back, returning to work program. Most of the companies, I think. Just Google about it. I think I couldn't recollect all the names, but as far as I know, most of the big companies have got some program or the other. And if you want to keep yourself updated with what are the programs, because you're doing this research of what are the companies which are having this program might become a little difficult for you. So there is one company which does this job for you. That company's name is called Jobs for Her. It's a organization which is specifically built for women returning to work.
Okay.
And they have a platform called Her Tech, where they have certain blogs out there, collating all the companies, list of companies who are hiring, and all the information out there sent to you as emails, newsletters, and all. Every week they have some celebrity from each of these companies to come and speak also. So you can follow not just Jobs for Her. There are several other companies who are doing a similar work. So instead of doing the research, I would say be a part of such communities where you can easily get the information from.
Okay, that's brilliant. Guys, she's given so many names. I got to admit that I would have not mentioned that many names, but she's got list of all those names, item research, jobs for her. Well, it'll be great, Usha, if you could put those names in the comment section after the show. That'll be great, so more and more people can actually get access to that
Sure.
link there. That'll be really helpful. Good stuff. Next question. Shama, hopefully you got the answer. I think she deserves a like here. I'm just stealing likes. Anyways, okay. Yeoman192 on YouTube says, greetings to all the panelists and Mr. Shilana for organizing such an insightful session. Guys, you've been very, very appreciated. A question to panelists that as highlighted in the data cleaning section. And the question is, how do you see the data science being implemented for the problems pertaining to bottom of the pyramid in rural India, like agricultural inputs and water resource management? I think we've answered that question at a high level. Anyone wants to go for a detailed level, that's fine. If not, then we'll move on to the next question.
I can specifically tell you one use case of agriculture. from IIM Bangalore. So IIM Bangalore has specifically deployed these use cases, and they have deployed it in some of the Karnataka rural cities as well. So they have developed an app. I'm just telling you one use case, but there are several use cases out there in agriculture which is already in production, which is already implemented. And you can also find a company called Cropin, which is based out of Bangalore, which is doing amazing jobs, which has got laurels from Bill Gates to, and there's no one person who has not appreciated that company. And it's an Indian company which is receiving laurels out there. And not just Cropin, there are several agricultural based AI startups out there in Bangalore itself. In India, there are more. And the IIM Bangalore use case, which I was trying to tell you, was like they have pesticide detection. This is a computer vision problem. This is a very common problem. That is, you take a photograph and then you'll have to just using the photos, to detect the pesticides at an early stage. So they have already developed this app which will help the farmers. Pesticide detection is a very critical problem. See, because farmers in rural area already they have a very less budget. So if they can detect the pesticides at a much earlier stage, they can take action. After a certain point of time, there are few crops. If you detect it at a later stage, the entire thing is ruined. You cannot do anything about it. So detecting it early is very important for them. So they have developed an app which does this, and the app also does multiple things. That is, a farmer has some grievances and stuff, he wants to contact the corporation very quickly. Farmer grievances, so the app was a multi-purpose app which solves all the problems of the agricultural farmer. So this is being implemented by Bangalore and deployed at several rural cities in Karnataka as well. And so I'm just telling you one use cases, but there's multitude of use cases, crop prediction and forecasting. There's a lot of from the satellite images, predicting. There was one problem given by Stanford University, Women in Data Science, Stanford University, 2019 problem. So this with Stanford, they organize a datathon every year. So the last year problem was based on agriculture. That is deforestation. From satellite imagery, you have to detect the palm trees and stuff. This was a computer vision problem. So there's multitude of use cases in agriculture, and so that sector, I think, there's huge use cases, especially in computer vision. So I mean, this is I'm just pointing out few things which I could fill in this time.
And there are lots of water resource management kind of use cases, and I can blatantly promote, shamelessly promote here. SAP has done a few of those as well, and you can look at their website as well. Just calling it out. That's it. You can learn from there as well. Okay, next question. Next question is from Prabhat Mandal, and this is at Neha. Neha, first of all, hi Prabhat, how are you? Thank you for joining the show. An important skill is asking relevant, progressive questions. Does it necessarily need an expert in the certain domain? What do you think about it, Neha?
Hi, Prabhat. Thank you for joining the call. So, Prabhat, I still believe that a domain expertise is needed if you have to be a good data scientist or an analytics person. I will not just say data scientist. Let me take an example of education industry, right? So now, because of this COVID-19 situation, we see that education is moving online, something which was not so accepted in the society before this COVID-19. We were literally forced to accept it. Now, when you talk about selling your course material, understanding your customer, the behavior of a customer, the intrinsic behavior of me as a customer of education industry is not going to change. How I express that behavior in an offline versus a virtual setting is going to change. And that is where, as you said, that it is very important to ask that relevant and progressive questions, but with the context of that industry. My behavior towards the education industry, which is moving online, is very different versus my behavior to making financial transactions using some app, which is also on an all-time high now due to COVID-19, is very different. And that is where that industry context becomes very important.
Okay, next question is from Subarna Roy. Hi Subarna, how are you? Thank you for joining the show. We have now various roles: data engineer, machine learning engineer, data scientist. Are they truly different? How does it affect team dynamics in your organization? Who wants to go?
I think it depends on each organization. I think, you can have one person doing the same job but have different roles in different organizations.
Yep, you're right. I think it's just the title, but what you do below it is something that depends on what they've asked you to do, depending on the structure of your team, the number of people in the team, and so forth. I think that's very important. But a key important thread to all of this is the domain knowledge, the industry knowledge, and understanding of statistics. That's very, very important. I think a data engineer needs to have some understanding of the statistical model that needs to be built, because then he will organize the data in that fashion. If that's not done, then you'll have a problem. So I think that's where we go. Next question, from Kumbal Napoli. And he says, I personally feel when you talk of less women in data science or any other field, it's basically not the right acceptance they get once they have a break owing to marriage, etc. What do you people think? I think we've discussed that as well. Or anyone wants to add something to it?
I'll just add one thing, my last comment, and apologies, I would not be able to stay for the rest of the session. It was lovely talking to all of you, a lot of learning for me as well. But Sambul, I entirely understand where you're coming from. I have been in that situation. I have two kids. Went on long maternity breaks. And I understand when women complain that recruiters do not look at you in the same way versus other candidates out there. I'm not comparing to men. I'm also comparing to women who've not been on any kind of a break. Yes, uh, it is tough to deal with that. Can one person alone change the world? Yes, possibly, but change will not happen in one day. It is your perseverance which will change the world.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And
And you got to go. Do you have a minute? Because I will want to give the gift thingy. Just give me a second. And we'll get back to the questions again. So, guys, today, what I'm doing is, for today, so you got to be looking at it. I'm giving away the Kindle copy of my book, Making Money Out of Data, free. You can go online to this link, which is bit.ly/free_MMOOD, and you can download the copy from Amazon for free. So you can get that free for today. So Making Money Out of Data, free of cost today. If you guys want to have a look, you can download it from bit.ly/free_MMOOD. Thank you. And so, Neha, thank you very much for joining. And you can also download the copy of the book. And thank you very much.
thank you very much. Apologies for dropping off, Sundar.
No worries. Okay, I'll get Neha out and we can go back to the questions very, very quickly. Poonam said, yes, agree for data scientist role. They put all the technologies available in the market. How much can one learn seriously? Yeah, you're right. Okay, Subarna Roy. Hi, Subarna. And she says, how do you handle explainability, interpretability in AI in your organization? Who wants to go? Usha?
So yeah, see, interpretability and all that. See, there are some techniques out there, but still not stable. But some of the I can list you some of the techniques. So most I specialize in a particular field called probabilistic graphical models, which is the only inference-based techniques which is available. So PGMs deals with causality, explainability naturally. The framework of explainability naturally fits into PGMs. So most of the companies where instead of building a machine learning classifier, they build probabilistic machine learning classifier which comes with this interpretability problems. And there's also an area in deep learning which is like Bayesian deep learning. So most of the Bayesian frameworks have this explainability embedded into them naturally. So some of the companies seek out for these frameworks. If they have, especially working for a zone where interpretability is a clause, like you have to build models. There are several regulations out there where you cannot build a model which you cannot explain, and also there are some jurisdictions, certain geographies which has some certain restrictions and all. So some of the companies, they switch to causal reasoning based models or inference models. And this is one strategy which some companies use. And there are other, see, explainability right now, at what stage are we there? So if there are certain set of features, you have certain set of techniques like partial independence plots, shapely values, and then permutation importance, and all these are some of the techniques which will tell you like which feature is more important and which feature is depending on which other feature. So we are and the shapely values also like gives a score for each of your feature importance as well. So these are some of the techniques which are being used. And outside this, I would say if you take Google AI, I would recommend you to go into Google AI blogs. There are a lot of blogs on explainable AI, interpretable AI. They have their own frameworks. But if you see the adoption of such frameworks, not just Google AI, but if you see most of the major platforms have got their frameworks out there, and they've also are in the early stages of their explainable AI framework and all. But the adoption of such frameworks in production based system is still at a very early stage. Still the adoption is at the early stage, and people are still experimenting with it. And it might take few years to be in a matured state, but at this moment these are the techniques available, and it's pretty much at an early stage is what I would say.
Sure. Thank you. Next comment. Next comment is from Diana Nguyen. Diana is Dancing Diana on LinkedIn, and she is very, very popular. Thank you for joining us on the show, Diana. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. But having Diana on the show is a privilege. Thank you for joining with us. Okay, finally, or two more questions I will take very quickly and get over it. Devashish Mukherjee says, "How many? Hi, Devashish. How are you? How may a business person with sound domain knowledge may cater to analytics team in an organization in problem solving?" Susan, you want to go?
So they've got a lot to offer actually, and I think it's working with them as in a team. I think that's a good way to approach it. To give the analyst another perspective. Like I say, so when I work with procurement data, they're looking at cost savings, contract compliance, etc. So they have a different lens to finance, who are looking at overall costs and assigning them to different budgets, or is it capex or opex or whatever. So it adds that layer of valuable information to the data, but you just have to kind of network within your own organization and get friendly with the analysts and start kind of getting involved.
Good stuff. Okay, next comment is from Poonam. Poonam says, "I did one on domestic violence real data in New South Wales statistics. Poonam, would love to know more about it. Please reach out to me offline, and we can have a discussion on what you've done and what are the other possibilities around it." Okay, next question is from Doha Wail Azab. He says, "Which platform is best for using data science?" What do you think, Usha?
So are you asking the technology languages like R versus Python, or
I think he's asking for a platform where he can do the entire data science piece, and I think it's around about AWS or
okay? Basically, there are big players out there, and when you take production-based systems, there are big players out there like TensorFlow, PyTorch, especially deep learning. I'm just answering for NLP and deep learning side of it. But one thing which I commonly see is TensorFlow is quite common in productionized environment, because it comes with a ecosystem, and you have everything in the ecosystem to help you get up and ready for production. So I would say I would recommend the TensorFlow production ecosystem, which I would recommend you go check it out. I've personally worked on it, so I can recommend that. That being said, I've worked a very little with Azure as well. And Azure has got a very good ecosystem, but I cannot comment on it because the duration which I worked was very, very limited. And so I think all the big players in the markets has got ups and downs. Like some of it is very good in one areas, the other is very good in other areas. All of it has got equally good equal ratio of disadvantages versus disadvantages. Since I have worked with the TensorFlow ecosystems, I would recommend TensorFlow. And majority of the clients and customers out there in the industry, whomever I've asked, see, for experimenting and prototyping, they use different frameworks. But when it comes for production, they generally prefer TensorFlow. This is not just me. I've interacted with several people out there who have deployed production based AI models and all that. And this is their unified feedback which I've got.
Good stuff. Last question before I go, and that is from Muhammad Ayaz Junaid. Hi, Muhammad, how are you? And he says, which is the best course for AI in Python? Usha, up to you, because I know you've got.
Yeah. So I would recommend, see, especially there are two things. Are you a computer science student or a non-computer science student? In the sense, even if you're a non-computer science, have you worked in programming before? It could be C, Java, or any form of a programming language. Have you dealt with it? Then I'll, based on this answer, I'll give you a flowchart kind of a response. Okay, you're a computer science student. I'll take this first. If you're a computer science student, then you're good with any program. These are transferable. Programming is a transferable skill. So if you're programmed in C or Java or any language, learning Python is going to be very easy. The first course which I would personally recommend is University of Washington Machine Learning 4-course specialization. It's more of the course is very simple to digest for beginners, and the course is packed such a way that a little of theory, little of programming experience, the real time implementation, take a use case, implement it, live coding. So that's how the course 4-course specialization is packaged. Amazing in both industry and academia instructors, so you have the right combination of it. So I would highly recommend, if you're a programming computer science student programmed in any of the language, then I would recommend this course as your starting point. What if you are a non-programming student, who is a student who has never programmed before? There are a lot of people, I come from supply chain industry, geography, or very areas where they've never programmed before. For those people, the first course which I would recommend is get started with a platform called datacamp.com. So the reason why I recommend datacamp.com is because the courses is packed such a way that you have 2-minute video clips, and then you immediately have 4 to 5 hands-on exercise where half of the code is already given to you, and you just have to fill in 2-3 lines. So they start from very, very basic, which is ideal for somebody who has never programmed before. And or they take you from that basic level, till you build a model. They take you through the journey gradually, and it's in a easy to digest format. So datacamp.com is personally I would recommend for non-programmers and somebody who's coming from a domain which is distinctly away from the computer science thing. Yeah, this is my recommendations, but there are like a lot of other good courses out there as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Last comment from Sambal Nakwi, and she says, thanks team and Shalindra for taking the question. Thank you, Sambal, for joining us. I'm watching live between, I have past experience in both stats and software development as well as in training, but now have a gap of 10 years and working back to get back to track. Brilliant stuff. And I wish you all the best, and I hope you get a job in this domain very soon, because as we get out of COVID, I think one business area or one stream that's going to really go look for people is data science, because I always say when we get into recession, people with analytics and data science skills get more in demand, and that is the reality. Mind it. Anyway, so I hope you get the job very soon. Good stuff. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, both of you. But before you go, I must say I'll just do a very quick show of the book and name of the and the title. So my book, Making Money Out of Data, where am I? Can I show you? Yeah, that's where we are. And you can get it free only for today on Amazon. It's worth $32 on Kindle, but it's free today. And you can get it from bit.ly/free_MMOOD. MMOOD means making money out of data. So free_MMOOD. You can download the book on Kindle for free today, only today, not tomorrow. It goes back to $32, I think, tomorrow on Amazon. So it's up to you when you want to download. But if you miss it today, then you'll have to pay $32 if you want to. Otherwise, that's where you get. So that's the link to the book to download. Usha, Susan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
promised 1 hour. We've gone 2 hours and 15 minutes. But
Is that a new record?
that's the nature of it. People have so many, and we have not even finished all the questions. There is one or two questions more left. So, but thank you for your time, girls, and
Thank you so much for inviting us. Yeah.
And I think it was a great conversation, and you guys did a great job. Thank you very much.
It's been great. Thank
so
you.
much, Silent, and thank you so much, Susan and Neha. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, bye.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, guys, those were Neha, Susan, and Usha. Susan from the UK, Neha and Usha from Bangalore. Remember, before I go today, copy of the book Making Money Out of Data can be downloaded for free only today on bit.ly/free_MMOOD. And if you don't get it today, then most likely you'll have to pay $32. That's how it is priced on Amazon, but that's how you can download today. So that's the copy of the book. Now, for all of you who have been watching this show, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you all on the show. If you're watching me on LinkedIn, please press the follow button so that you can get alerted. If you're watching on Twitter, press the follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, press the subscribe button and the bell icon. It is smash that so that you can be alerted when a new show is telecasted. And finally, if you're watching it on Facebook, press the like button and press the follow button so that you get alerted next time when I'm live on. I've promised you that I will be posting a video on for the data science beginners on what they should be doing to get into data science, and that is short and will be posted in coming days. So thank you very much for joining me today. I'll see you back on Tuesday with the episode for Artificial Intelligence Startup Insight series, and I'll see you then. So bye now.